Welcome back. This is some question and answer sections. We've got a few questions coming in because this is live. This isn't actually pre-recorded at all. And thank you very much for sticking with us. Thanks very much to Amir and Atif from Alkira for sponsoring this event and being with the packet pushers. So I've got some questions for you. The first one I think I'll throw to Atif, which is the Alkira fabric extended all over the world, and how is it managed?
It's extended all over the world, Greg. As I mentioned earlier also, so we manage the infrastructure underneath the platform, which is built by us. But customers, they build their own network using our infrastructure. So our platforms are global. They can be spun up or brought up anywhere, wherever wherever customers have users or wherever customers need to connect to clouds, and wherever customers need to onboard security appliances. And then we provide interconnection, high-speed, low-latency interconnection between regions also, and that happens automatically, as Manan in his previous session also showed.
So that means everything's your fault, which I quite like, right? Because everything because if everything's your platform and it's your technology, you can't shift the blame to, oh, it's the service provider's fault or whatever. This is all your fault.
Exactly. So we also provide SLA for availability. And so we manage the infrastructure for the customer. So it's just like, when you consume or bring up a workload in the cloud. So you don't have to worry about which server the VM is running on and all that stuff, or the server is going down or not. So same thing here. We are providing the network infrastructure, and customers are building their network on top using our infrastructure.
Wanted to clarify the tenancy model a bit more. So we know that this is a cloud-provided service, and all the customers that are using it are different tenants to Alkira. But what if I, as the enterprise consuming Alkira, need to be multi-tenant? Can I, within my Alkira network, support multi-tenancy for my customers?
That's a very good question, and the answer is absolutely, because that's how we built this platform with that in mind. In fact, one of our customers who is on this show, Coke Industries, that's how they're using. They have multiple segments, and each segment could be a tenant as well. So within a tenant, you can have multiple segments, and each of that segment can be a subtenant of that customer. So it's all built in. Multi-tenancy, so not just limited to tenant level, but within a tenant also it's multi-tenant.
Okay, we have a question here around policy-based traffic routing. Can you do latency based on services between VPCs while others handle for latency or for some for cost? Or does that even matter in Alkira because you're taking care of all the traffic for me anyway?
Yeah, we are taking care of all the traffic for you anyway, but we provide all the visibility as far as latency is concerned, because now your traffic is coming to our CXP. So CXP is not just control plane, it's data plane, control plane, and management plane for the customer. So the traffic flows through the CXPs, and then we provide all latency information from the CXP to all these clouds as well. You will have all the information from cloud to cloud, all those latency numbers as well in there. But we take care of all of the. We provide the most efficient, most optimal route from one endpoint to another endpoint.
Routing by latency doesn't make any sense.
Routing by latency, in the past also many people tried like routing based on many different. There was traffic engineering stuff in MPLS networks, if you remember, like based on certain criteria. It became so complicated so quickly. So I think it's more based on the application performance. As long as you can guarantee a certain application performance, it doesn't matter underneath like how you're providing it. So the focus has to be more on the application rather than if I'm doing all the fancy controls underneath based on latency and switching routes based on latency, because before you go, the platform becomes so complicated. You introduce so many more bugs and so many more issues in there that it becomes a nightmare. So,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. At some point, you end up just optimizing for simplicity, not for features.
Exactly, and it's based on the use cases, right, and the requirements of the customer. So as long as I'm meeting the requirements, I'm providing the infrastructure which meets the requirements of the customer. And requirements are usually now it's a business level requirements, right? From a business level, if my application is working well or not. If I'm seeing like a lot more latency where my application is not performing the way it should be, then there are issues. But everything has to be taken a step up to the application level, and made sure that from there we address all the performance issues.
Well, those sound like SD-WAN lessons learned. So let's talk about that latency from the edge perspective. If I'm at a specific site that is connecting into the Alkira fabric, do I have 2 points like I would have in the SD-WAN model where I connect in?
Yes, so you connect to 2 points by default. So what we do is for redundancy, if you're coming in from your on-prem location, we basically connect you to 2 different points. Those could be, that's something we do to make sure that there's high availability, because we are providing an SLA on availability as well. So we take care of all of that. But once you get into our CXPs, which our vision is to take our footprint of our cloud to as close to the user as possible. We are available in all regions across the globe, but we're extending our footprint on a continuous basis as well.
Do you know how many POPs you've got deployed now?
So right now, as we explained earlier also, that our CXPs run on top of these public cloud providers infrastructure. So wherever there's a cloud providers region, we have you can bring up a CXP there as a customer. But now, what we are doing is we are moving more and more closer to the customer as well, leveraging some other technologies, and we'll share that information with the customers and you guys when the time is right. But we are getting more and more closer to the customer. So our goal is that the customer traffic gets onto our cloud as quickly as possible, rides the network that we built for the customer, which is a high-speed, low-latency network, which allows you to go from any endpoint to any endpoint connected to the Alkira's network cloud. And we optimize all of that. We provide all the SLA for the underlying infrastructure as well.
So we've got performance optimization. Are there any cost optimizations there because of whatever I might be paying to, say, egress from one cloud to another or one zone to another?
That's actually a very good point, because egressing from a cloud is very expensive. So we have built our solution with that in mind. So that's why our solution is built inside, or CXPs are built inside the cloud. So we try to keep the traffic inside of a given cloud for as long as possible. So let's say if you're going from a VNet to a VPC, like Azure VNet to a AWS VPC, you have to exit anyway, one cloud to get to the other. So we make sure that we exit out at the most optimal locations underneath. So as a customer, you don't need to worry about like how that exit is happening, but obviously there you're going to get charged for the exit or the egress from the cloud. Apart from that, we can go into in some other session, we'll go into more details as far as how we price our service and all those things.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get, I think we've gotten into enough detail as far as we can. So this is a reminder that there's only so much we can cover in the time available. Exactly. If you want to keep digging that hole, there's a point at which you go and talk to Alkira directly and go and have a look at the demo and get on with it. Amar, I wanted to ask you a question about, I tend to focus much more on the strategy and the strategic implications these days. And you actually sold this product to Koch Industries, and then Koch Industries made an investment into Alkira after buying this product for their business. Now that's a big step of faith. You know, that's the old joke about the Remington shavers. I liked it so much I bought the company, sort of a thing. Is that strategy sort of commitment that you're seeing from customers something that repeats? Is that a one? Like, I want to say, like, that sounds like that's a one-off customer experience. Is that something that repeats?
It repeats with every customer. We have so many customers in healthcare and financials. And, not necessarily all of them will invest in us, but, they're adopting our solution. We just had a customer advisory board meeting with, a dozen customers a couple of months back. That energy level that we saw was just unbelievable, because this is something so new and so refreshing for them, which gives them the opportunity to move at the speed of business rather than being hindered by the flexibility of the network.
If I had to ask you, I'm going to ask you a cheeky question. Top 2 points that come up in those calls, like at the executive level. You're the CEO of this startup, right, of Alkira. You've also been the CEO and a senior executive in other companies. So you know what I mean by saying, what is the top 2 issues that come up when you're engaging at the high levels with Alkira?
So first one is they are shocked, right, that something this simple exists out there. And the second one is, how quickly can I get my hands on this? Because my team is not able to meet my IT requirements. I cannot scale my enterprise.
Right. That's one.
Mm-hmm. No, so the first one is the shock, right? That
The shots. Okay, right.
And the second one is, let's get started with this.
Let's get started. So then go to the pain points and start discovering what the reality is, and presumably there is no pain. Right. So let's just leave that there for today. I've got one question from the audience. Haresh asks, is there any limitation with speed or encryption when setting up networking between the cloud and between a region inside the cloud? Is there a performance limitation?
As Atif explained, our solution scales horizontally. Because we are in the cloud, we can spin up more resources on demand. So even with the deployment of our firewall capability, as an example, you can decide based on traffic what characteristics we should be spinning up more resources and tearing them down. So if you're, let's say, a retail customer, during the holiday season, you may have requirements for peak traffic. And you don't have to deploy for peak anymore, because this is an elastic solution. So we automatically will bring up more firewall resources for that and take it away when your requirement goes away. So you have never seen anything like this in the networking industry.
So you don't have to prepay; you have to postpay.
Exactly.
Which is a use case in and of itself, right?
Yes.
And it could even, but it can still lay over your existing. It doesn't. You don't have to throw anything away if you don't want to. I can still use my existing MPLS, my existing SD-WAN.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of the solution, is that if you have, let's say, merger acquisitions, or in different regions, you're using different SD-WAN solutions, or you have only IPsec in a particular region, this allows you to stitch all those environments together. How difficult is that today with segmentation, with full routing capabilities, right? It's very, very flexible. And the
visibility. You forgot the visibility.
It's the visibility.
Because it's the visibility to me. Like, we only very quickly got to see the visibility with Manan Shah in the previous section, where he's sort of showing us the demo of the screen. But I can actually see, and I've seen your demos, I can actually see the flows and the information of what's happening in the network. It's not, behind some opaque. There's actually a dashboard which gives me the visibility and analytics.
Right. And imagine, Greg, this is how the industry is going to grow now, right? You don't need those hardware-based boxes everywhere, right? The compute and the capabilities of the clouds allow you to create these software constructs that we have done, how we have provided the solution, right? So we can scale to many locations where customers could not even imagine, right, historically, and with full control.
Well, I think there's two sides to that. I think, yes, you're right. But I would also say that your solution embraces situations where that doesn't happen too.
Yep.
So if I have a solution, if I have a situation where I do need to have an edge firewall, or I've got it's not that your solution just suddenly stops working because I can't get to the cloud to get to your resources. Exactly. I can still integrate because you're producing IPsec or whatever it is that I need.
Absolutely. And that's the flexibility that customers demand. And slowly you can move out your resources from the data center into the network cloud. So your firewalls, your load balancers, all the services that you need reside in these mini colos, which are on demand, right? Mm-hmm. And they front end all of your cloud, all of your on-premise locations, as well as remote users.
Well, I think we've run out of questions from the audience. Thanks very much to the people who tuned in live today to join us. Amma, have you got any last words for people? Like, have you got any questions that I didn't ask that I should have?
Yeah, and we have built this company to transform the networking industry, and we're really serious about that. And our customers are providing the testimonials that this is achievable, right? So as the industry stands today, we are going to transform that industry into the future. Right.
Big words, big CEO words.
And, I always stand behind my words, and the team stands behind the words. And we always stand behind our customers. And, you can ask Matt and Jamie the level of customer service that we provide. We are extremely customer obsessed, right? We always take care of our customers day and night, 24 hours a day. As a startup, you've never seen better support from anybody.
Well, I think the interesting thing is that you're much more likely to be able to do it with this platform because everything's in your control.
Yes.
You own it all. You're responsible for all of it. You can't not blame yourself.
Right.
And I know that's a very broad statement, but
it is.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. A lot of times we figure out our platform is automated enough to indicate if there is a potential problem that we should be noticing, right? And so it's really important that we inform the customer ahead of time if there is something potentially can go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Atif, is there a question that I didn't ask you that you want me to that you want to answer?
No, I'll just make a comment, like a closing comment here. So, over the last many years, networking has become more and more complex, and I think we have all built products which contributed to the complexity instead of becoming simple. So now what we want to do is we want to simplify networks, and we want networks to become use case driven. So up till now, you hardly find networks being use case driven. It's the other way usually, and we want networking to become. And again, this is a cheeky comment. We want networking to become as simple as SaaS. So SaaS is simplified consumption of applications, and now we want networking to become very simple also. And
yeah,
this is what
I've always said to people, you don't get paid extra for working weekends, right?
Yeah.
So why are you installing technology that needs you to work weekends?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And while having the same level of control you had before. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And, yeah.
Well, Ethan, I think we've pretty much wrapped up our first Packet Pushers live stream. Any closing thoughts?
Ease of use came up multiple times, Greg. That's the one recurring theme that was repeated over and over. Just closing on what Atif said, the network has been getting more complex. So to have something that's actually solves complex problems in an easy way, that's the real deal to me.
Well, on that note, thanks so much for listening to the Packet Pushers live stream. Thanks for participating with us. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for joining in. If you want more information, head up alkira.com. You'll be able to go and see these videos are actually being recorded and we published to YouTube. If you're watching, you'll be able to see them. You can go to alkira.com and run a demo so you can actually see all of this for yourself. And thanks so much. And as always, remember that too much networking would never be enough.